Iyer with you on the ENFRA Show. Today we have a very special episode right from Thimphu in Bhutan, and with me is none other than Shri Khazanchi, the Managing Director of the Punatsangchhu projects, and the man who has actually been responsible for the build-up of the entire hydropower projects in the country and the entire initiatives, that are 10,000 megawatt initiatives between India and Bhutan that have been set up. Khazanchi Sahab has played a major role in upping the ante and ensuring that these projects come on the ground and real. This is Professor Iyer. I am the editor and publisher of ENERTIA with you on the ENFRA Show. Starting with it, may I request Khazanchi Sahab to just give a background, of this whole story, how the whole thing started in Bhutan, how this hydro development between India and Bhutan actually started,
Thank you, Professor, for coming to Bhutan and sparing time to be with me and talking on this very important cooperation of hydropower development between India and Bhutan happening here in this country. In 1970s, Government of India took up a major project, hydropower project. It is in the Mangchu Basin, where we have this capital city also. And that 336 megawatts Chukha Hydroelectric project, which got commissioned in 1988.
That's right.
They, looking to the benefits of the project after its commissioning, both countries got interested in harnessing more hydropower in this country, where the potential is estimated at about 30,000 megawatts. So immediately they started more investigations.
Right.
And came up a project immediately downstream of Chukha, almost 3 times the capacity of the one first done, commissioned in 1988, and came up this Tala hydroelectric project on the same river, utilizing a head of almost 900 meters, right, the river, and supposed to be the second largest underground hydropower development in the subcontinent.
Right.
After Napta Japi hydroelectric project in Himachal Pradesh,
right, the subcontinent
which was under construction that time, and that organization is now Satluj Jal Vidyut Nigam. So immediately in early 90s, investigations were done, and by 1993 they had framed the detailed project report, and it was considered by both the governments, and finally sanctioned for execution,
right,
in 1997.
Right.
So starting from scratch in 1997, because what had happened, people who had been working on the Chukha hydroelectric project, most of them had left by 1988.
Right.
And being a gap of more than 8 years in between, so the manpower, especially the technical manpower, was not available.
Right.
So afresh, something had to be started from scratch. And by the end of 1998,
Right.
initial pre-construction stage investigations and optimization was carried out, and we have, luckily for us, the 2 premier organizations of Government of India, one dealing in water, one dealing in power, Central Water Commission,
Right.
Minister of Water Resources, and Central Exchange Party, Minister of Power. And both are our consultants through WAPCOS, which is again a Government of India organization in consultancy services. And therefore, as I said, we had the best of the engineering and design inputs available from India, from these 2 organizations. Plus the geotechnical part, again we are lucky, is entrusted to Geological Survey of India, another premier organization in the country. So all that was available, and we started the main project awards somewhere in 98 and November, December, main components. And as I said, the entire project came to a total of about 40 kilometers of underground working. Tunnels, road tunnels, the caverns, and lot of Himalayan geology problems, as is known to everybody. We had lot of collapses. We had a lot of the Himalayan geological surprises in tunneling. Some very innovative measures had to be taken.
Right. So let us, at this point I would request you, how the Himalayan geology is much different from the others, for the viewers, because that's very important to stress how it's difficult to work in a Himalayan geology environment, compared to other, I would say.
Professor, you must be knowing, actually, when we think of how you have to go back in time,
Right.
the continental drifts,
Right.
most of the mass,
Right.
the earth mass was in the very close to the poles.
Correct.
And with time, fragmentation happened and things started moving towards the equator.
Correct.
North coming south, south going north.
Right.
And in that, if you see the Indian subcontinent,
Right.
it is drifted from the south and come up to north.
Correct.
And once it struck the solid mass in the north,
Right.
came up the Himalayas.
Right.
And rest of the mass,
Right.
whether in south, whether in north, was solid for ages and ages before that.
Right.
So recent most was something like this. The entire Himalayan belt of more than 2,000 kilometers coming as the most recent geological phenomena of creating mountain range.
Correct.
And a mountain range which is under movement even today.
Correct.
As all of us know, even the largest, the highest peak on earth, Mount Everest, is still moving and going up.
Right. Right.
And last what we had known about it almost during my lifetime, when I was a boy, we used to say this much, now today is 2 meters more than that.
Exactly.
So you have to think of a setup where lot of folding, lot of faulting,
Right.
lot of jointing,
Right.
a mix of very loose material,
Yes.
and adjacent to that will be very hard
Hard
material.
material. So highly unpredictable in geology.
Every 10 meters, Professor Iyer, you will find in underground people who do it in the field. Even the designers who have to put the inputs for supporting a structure underground. Every 10 meters there's a change. Every 10 meters they have almost to live with it.
Right.
As they see, proceed with the design and proceed with construction.
Right.
That is what the Himalayan geology is. And irrespective of the fact, irrespective of any amount of investigation you may carry out, you will still have surprises.
Yeah. So these are the geological surprises which keep coming every now and then when we progress with the project.
Then most important, Professor, now in this particular case where you are doing a mega project which doesn't happen, such projects do not happen that often.
Absolutely.
So every time you have a set of people who at best have an experience of perhaps half of a project, 1/4 of somebody doing good at investigation, not getting then an experience or an exposure to be doing the full project during construction, some doing the initial part of the mobilization and infrastructure developments, some during the actual construction stage, some then only for testing commissioning stage.
Right.
In totality, when you find people in this particular profession, the hydropower development, limited number of people.
Right, sir.
And,
So, yes, sir. So with these challenges, how do you think, so many projects are being taken up now. Tala was completed and it was one of the finest projects that even ENERTIA rewarded across, the awards.
Thank you, Professor, for the recognition.
Yeah.
We had, in fact, as I said, between 2008,
Right.
end of 8, and 2006, July, we commissioned the first unit of 170 megawatts. And by March of that year, 2007, before end of March, we had all the 6 units functioning.
Right.
And we kept it with us as the authority, Tala Hydroelectric Power Authority, for 2.5 years for its commissioning. And in March 2009, we hand it over to the Royal Government of Bhutan.
Right. So what is the capacity currently of the Tala project? How much?
Tala
it's able to
project is
export?
1020 megawatts.
Right. So, and it's able to export that entire capacity at this point of time?
Actually, what had happened, Professor, the bilateral agreements between the two governments are very clear that anything which is surplus,
Yeah, only the surplus power will be
requirements
sold.
of Bhutan will be
Sold to
spared and only
Exported
evacuated
to
to
India.
India. Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
what it is. And as you know, the river flows are very lean during winter months, December to March, and it's only in monsoon. And the
Capacities
snow
come up
melting
in
does-
full, yeah.
And especially for the run-of-river schemes, you have the full capacity during about 100 days of a year.
That's right.
And for rest 265 days, it staggers down to almost 20% of the installed capacity, it can come even below that.
It varies between 20 to a certain
Yeah,
different level.
you can see for a station with 6 units,
Right,
in winter you'll have 1 unit working.
right.
And as the snow melting
Right.
starts, it
Then
picks
the
up
capacity goes
1.5, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
And by June, it goes to full capacity, all the 6 units
Right.
running is 100%. And that continues till, as I said, about 100 days. It could be anything between 95 to 100 days in a year. You'll have the full capacity.
Right.
So you have the challenges of getting people.
Yes.
You have the challenges of getting the agencies to work for you.
Right.
You have the challenges of arranging materials timely, transportation of materials as you come to the interiors, and then you have the challenges of actually arranging finances for carrying out all that.
Right. So coming to finances, sir, it's the most critical part. It must be coordinated with the project movement. There must be some synchronization between the amount of funds needed for these projects and then the contingencies which keep coming every now and then.
We have, Professor Iyer, as we start, a sanctioned project cost
Right.
and a time period, and then you forecast the phasing of expenditure.
Exactly.
That we send to the authorities who have to arrange us finances. In fact, in case of these bilateral agreements between the two governments for Tala, we had the arrangement that Government of India will provide the funds.
Right.
As per the requirements, as I said, phased expenditure over the years in a period of 7 years to be completed. So we also have a problem in the sense when you estimate a project, you estimate it on that price level. The year you have investigated it, whatever is the market, that time you adopt those rates and come up with a figure for the total expenditure. But when you take up the works, that time we start with that sanction.
Right.
And from the date of sanction to the date of start,
Right, sir.
that period, plus then during the construction of the project,
Right.
all that price variation,
Right.
whatever it is, mostly it is only mostly the hike, and that price escalation becomes a bottleneck for planning.
Right. It's a challenge.
Because,
basically.
yeah, basically you have phased your expenditure on the initial estimated and sanctioned cost.
Right.
But by the time you complete the project, my own experience has been, it is anything between 45 to 50% is only the price escalation on the price, the quantities and the rates of the day when you had sanctioned that.
This is because of the nature of the vagaries of these projects, right? The complete variables that are involved.
This, Professor, is actually the cost of inputs.
Okay.
Cement cost, the day you
Always
have
keep
sanctioned,
moving up,
steel cost, the equipment cost, the fuels,
Commodity escalation.
diesel and
Absolutely.
liquid oil.
Steel and cement is major.
On that,
Yes,
I
sir.
will tell you, it comes to something like 45 to 50%.
Right, I got your point. Basically the cost of cement for the life, an average hydro project, according to you, you said takes minimum of 9 years, 8 to 9 years.
If you ask me very realistically, Professor, one, we have to agree that at the investigation stage,
Right.
resources are less.
Right.
and number of people and experts available are also less.
Yes, right.
Because the resources, as I said, even the investment is less. So you have the limitation of the investigations. You come up with best of the possible detailed project report for implementation. At the implementation stage,
Right.
now you have more resources,
Correct.
more people you collect.
Right.
And that is the time I think, according to me, and that has worked well, before you take up construction proper,
Correct.
we need certainly to look through this detailed project report which is already sanctioned. Not as a challenge to prove somebody wrong.
Correct.
No, that's not the intention. Intention is now is the time to invest money.
Correct.
Till that time it was on paper.
Right.
This project to be done at this cost. But when you come to implement it, you have the better responsibility of seeing what is provided in the DPR, whether that is the optimum or not.
Right.
So immediately when you come, most important is that time for the optimization studies and also simultaneously infrastructure. Infrastructure development in our culture normally we say
Like basically the access
infrastructure of
roads.
2 years and
Right.
then you start zero. No, according to me, most essential part of the infrastructure, that is access to various
Access roads,
components,
yeah.
as you said. Then availability of power
Correct.
for your construction stage
Absolutely.
requirements.
Construction power.
Yeah,
Yes.
that if you put that in place, then your rest of the infrastructure can continue while you have started the main works also.
Right.
There will be an overlap in that. So according to me, 2 years of optimization studies and essential infrastructure.
Right.
Otherwise, if you ask me full infrastructure, then no, it's not possible within 2 years because so many things are involved.
Right.
Land acquisition, which takes, it has its own procedures, it takes time. And then clearances for each component, environment
Clearance, very important.
it takes time. So what I will tell you very realistically, and when you really have everybody putting in due diligence,
Yes.
you will be able to do in 2 years all the optimization and the essential infrastructure.
Agreed.
So at the end of 2 years, start a project. A project can take, as you rightly said, total 6 to 7 years.
Right.
6 years, you should go with a
This is the construction time.
Time. So it will be in the end, yes, as you said, 8 to 9
9
years.
years.
Yes.
Safely we can say we can do
and,
this
and
time.
this can be, I tell you, internationally, you take best of the projects done in the world
This
of
is the way-
such complexes
Yes.
like these. This is the time frame involved ultimately.
Right. So we need to take that time because of the nature of these projects.
And luckily for us, with us in India and here in Bhutan also, although their population is very small, but there are experts now developed here also. And culturally, this is the type of time frame we follow now.
Right.
So once, Professor Iyer, this Tala Hydroelectric project got commissioned, so the power started flowing to India,
Right.
the revenue started coming to this
Absolutely.
country. Both countries, both win-win situation. So immediately they decided on taking up hydropower development in this country on a large scale.
Correct.
In 2008,
Right.
Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, he had come to this country and they had high-level meetings. He was accompanied by a delegation and with their counterparts in this country, they discussed, and at the end of that visit, a decision had been taken to develop 10,000 megawatts of power
Right.
by...
We remember we also put up a meeting, the 10,000 megawatt hydropower initiative. With your help, here, we had a meeting on across that time in July.
So the first project on that,
Right.
in that 10 projects were identified. First project, Punatsangchhu 1 hydroelectric project.
Right.
It's a 1200
So,
megawatts.
so that means de facto Tala and whatever has happened is not still the part of this 10,000 megawatt initiative.
No, that is already done.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So the 10,000 is a new one.
Total of 1480 megawatts.
It's already in operation.
Yeah, already in operation. Out of that, 1416 megawatts was done by Government of India
Right, right,
with Bhutan.
right.
And 2008 started now, full 10,000 megawatts,
Correct.
of which first is
Punatsangchhu
Punatsangchhu
1, right.
That we started in November 2008.
Right.
And the completion of November 2016, 8-year completion.
Right.
Unfortunately, while we were working on this project last July, we had a geological surprise at the dam site
Right.
of Punatsangchhu 1, which is a unique dam, unique concrete gravity dam,
Right.
where the depth of foundations are something like 80 meters
Yes.
below the river bed.
Below the riverbed, 80 meters below the riverbed.
The total height of the dam is 130 meters.
Right.
80 goes below the
river.
riverbed, and for 50
Comes
is
above.
the portion which is above.
Right.
So when we excavate, go down 80 meters
Right.
in a valley,
Right.
what happens to two banks?
That's right.
It was a big challenge to our designers and geotechnical experts. And of the two banks,
Right.
the left bank was supposed to be more vulnerable.
Okay.
And lot of investigations were carried out, and lot of measures were taken on the left bank
Right.
to see that it doesn't slide, it doesn't slip when we go 80 meters below the river.
Right.
Came the right bank. Right bank, although milder in slope, and although investigated very thoroughly
Right.
to the extent where the dam would have its influence,
Correct.
having done that, right bank treatment put according to the results of that investigation in place, yet while we had gone about 60 meters, 50 odd meters below riverbed, the right bank started sliding.
Okay.
And to the surprise of everybody, in 2 nights, 26th, 27th of July, it moved.
This is 2013.
13, yeah,
Yeah.
last year. 5 meters. And the whole hill just moved on a plane without any traces, or very little traces of something rolling or something slipping, no. En masse, the whole thing shifted.
Shifted.
Yeah. And on that bank, we have a highway going from the upstream in the north, we have Wangdi district, and downstream as you go south is Shri district. So that national highway connecting the two districts, you could see it came down 5 meters
Right.
in a length of almost 300 meters length.
My God.
But the road was there.
Right.
So a little dozing on two ends on 300 meters, and within 2 hours it was destroyed. Also nothing could be seen, nobody could believe
That this happened.
Yeah.
So this was
That-
a geological event.
Yes,
a
it
big
was,
surprise.
and it was a big shock to the project, and all of us who are associated with its construction. Immediately we took up measures for now investigating why this had happened.
Right.
All additional, besides what had been done in the pre-construction stage also.
Right.
So immediately we moved, and then you get all the drilling machines, you take cores of rock which you excavate, and get experts from GSI, from Calcutta and Delhi, our designers. Series of visits
Yes.
and series of now the investigations to be carried out, and in 3 months the entire thing got investigated, and the plane on which the hill had moved was established with now the stabilization measures.
Right.
And stabilization measures we started simultaneously. As the investigation was on, in phases we started with whatever resource was available with us at the project site.
Right.
But the sterilization, it involves special equipment, special techniques to be used, for which we have only specialized agencies
Right.
in India. So everything tied up with them, and people have moved in, and we will be trying our best to do the major part, essential part of these stabilization measures before the monsoon 14 picks up. That will be by about maybe mid-July.
Right.
And that's the time when we resume working for excavating another 20 meters in the riverbed
Right.
to reach the final foundation levels, so that we can, by the end of monsoon, towards end of the year 2014, we start completing of the dam.
That's right.
So we have, Professor, actually now wanted to retrieve the lost time, and as an attempt for that, we are now replacing the conventionally vibrated concrete part of the dam up to the riverbed by now roller compacted concrete.
Right, sir.
For that we have already moved. In fact, mobilization is on, and by the time we do the balance excavation of 20 meters, we treat it, make it ready for accepting concrete. By then, we will have complete mobilization done for doing the. For roller compacted concrete, we have already done the mixed designs,
Right, right.
and everything is in place. So we expect that end of year, perhaps we will get us some good news, and we come up with the pace of work which for that part of the dam,
Right.
which is going to be something like more than 9 lakh cubic meters.
Right, sir.
That will cover in half the time of what we normally take for conventionally vibrated concrete, which comes in blocks.
Right. So you are almost salvaging the time with the technology.
Yeah, and we expect that we will have the project commissioned by November 2017.
Right. So at this point, Juncture, I think we will need to take a break. I need to tell you that R.N. Khazanchi ji is also the winner of the 6th ENERTIA Award for being the hydropower man of the year for the entire SAARC region, and for his work all these years and the lifetime achievement that he has done. Also, he was later on conferred with the highest civilian honor, the Druk Thuksey Award, by the Honorable His Excellency, the Majesty, the King of Bhutan. And all India was proud about Khazanchi Saab's work, and also all Bhutanese. With this, I take a small break and I return back with Khazanchi Saab with other questions and other moments of the 10 gigawatt initiative and cooperation between India and Bhutan. This very special episode on ENFRA Show. This is Professor A.G. Iyer, editor and publisher, ENERTIA, president of the ENERTIA Foundation, and also the Renewable Energy Promotion Association. With me is Shri R.N. Khazanchi, Honorary Druk Thuksey, who has got the highest civilian award of Bhutan from the Honorable King here, and also he is the winner of the 6th ENERTIA Award for his lifetime achievement in hydropower sector for the SAARC region. Khazanchi Saab, we were just in the last segment, we were trying to go through the capacity of the entire 10 gigawatt initiative. So if you could just throw some light on the entire stretch of this, how this 10 gigawatt is distributed, what are those projects, and what is the size of the investment that is being foreseen here?
Professor Iyer, in 2008, as I said, 10,000 megawatts projects were identified for implementation by the two governments, and the estimated cost on that 2008 price level was 50,000 Indian rupees, 50,000 crore Indian rupees, and then depending on the location of the project, an interior project would cost a little more, a project closer to supply points towards the south in the country would cost a little less, and the distribution for the projects in the entire country is spread in different river basins.
Right.
They have in the country 5 main river basins.
Okay.
If we start from the western end, that
Right.
is the Sikkim end,
That's right.
the first basin is Amachu.
Amachu Basin.
Amachu has a capacity, a potential of about 2,100 megawatts.
Right.
If you take the basin as a whole.
Right.
And nothing has been developed so far in that basin.
Okay. That's basically a virgin basin.
Virgin basin. So the first project envisaged in that, and coming under this 10,000 megawatts initiative is ENERTIA project.
Okay.
And ENERTIA project has a capacity of 670 megawatts.
Okay.
It is a reservoir project,
Right.
and the capacity is going to be installed capacity is 670. Then you come now east.
Right.
That is the second basin now, that is Wangchu.
Wangchu. Right.
Wangchu basin has the maximum development so far.
Okay.
It has 336 megawatts of Chukha
Right.
and 1020 megawatts of Tala already constructed.
Right. So Tala and Chokha basically is in the Wangchu basin.
Is in the Wangchu
Wangchu
basin.
right,
Yes.
sir.
In the Wangchu basin, the total potential is something like 2700 megawatts.
Okay, 2,700 megawatt.
Yeah. Out of 2070, as I said, 1356 is already done.
Yeah.
Now, two more projects are coming up.
Okay.
A project upstream of Chukha
Okay.
is a reservoir scheme.
Okay.
Although the installed capacity with the dam to powerhouse
Yeah.
for that project is only 180 megawatts, but being a reservoir scheme, it will have its balance
benefit,
rate
yeah.
on Chukha,
Right.
then Tala, and in the basin, one more project coming up downstream of Tala.
Okay.
Before you enter the Indian plains is Wangchu Hydroelectric project.
Okay.
Wangchu Hydroelectric project has a capacity of about 600 megawatts.
Right.
So
What is that 180 megawatt project? What is the name of
that is Bunakha Reservoir Dam.
Bunakha Reservoir.
Bunakha.
Okay.
That's upstream of Chukha.
Right, right.
Then you come to the third basin starting from west. Third is Punatsangchhu.
Right. Punatsangchhu.
Punatsangchhu basin.
Which we basically saw.
Yeah.
And the construction is
You
going
visited,
on.
you were nice to come. So we have two projects already started on that. Punatsangchhu 1 1200 megawatts.
Yes.
Punatsangchhu 2 1020
20 megawatts.
Yeah. The two projects are a part of this 10,000 megawatts.
Great.
Yes. The next basin is Mangdechu.
Magdechu.
No, I forgot to tell you. In Punatsangchhu, the capacity basin as a whole
Basin as a
is
whole.
something like 6,600 megawatts.
Okay, massive.
Yeah.
So we are
Of
just
which-
taking 1/3 right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next project is Punatsangchhu 3. Then we have a large reservoir scheme, Sankosh.
Sankosh.
That is the last in the basin.
Yeah.
And
It was earlier 4,000 megawatt, but now we have reduced
Yeah,
it.
we have reduced it to 2,560 megawatts.
Right.
But the reservoir remains the same, and the irrigation facilities later
Yes. Right.
are available.
Massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we go to the fifth.
Right.
Fifth is fourth.
Fourth.
Fourth is Mangdechu basin.
Right.
In Mangdechu basin, we have already taken up one project.
Correct.
720 megawatts Mangdechu hydroelectric project.
Right.
Under this initiative.
And what is the basin capacity there?
Basin capacity there would be something like almost 3,900 megawatts.
Okay, it's quite
3,900
good.
megawatts.
Quite good capacity is there.
Then we have the easternmost basin.
Right.
That's the largest and it has the highest power potential of more than 8,700 megawatts.
Okay.
Is Drangmechu.
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 So that is the biggest potential
Yeah,
basin
yeah.
in the whole of the Bhutan.
Yeah. And in India it is Manas River.
Which one?
Manas River.
Manas River.
Yes.
And
It's
which
a
is
tributary
flowing from
of
the Assam side?
This is going to Assam. It's a tributary of Brahmaputra.
Okay.
On that, we have right now projects. One is Khazanchi,
Yes.
860 megawatts.
Khazanchi.
Yeah. Then we have Kurigumri.
Kurigumri.
Yeah. That is, the DPR is about to be completed now.
Right.
That is more than 2,700 megawatts.
Lovely. It's a big project.
So if you see,
that is the run of the river?
this is run of the river.
That is run of the river. Okay.
If you see the whole thing, these 10 projects which I have named to you in 5 basins, coming to almost about 11,000 megawatts.
Right.
So by 2020,
Right.
all efforts are on that.
These
At
are
least
completed.
10,000, at least 10,000.
Of these are completed. Yeah.
Then some will spill to the beyond 2020.
Right, right. Obviously, nature of the hydro project.
And if we now do it, completion cost, according to me, for these 10,000 megawatts would be in the range of about 80 to 85,000 crores.
Okay. That is as per the current cost estimates.
Yeah.
Right? They're based on the present cost.
No, escalations also
Has been added accordingly.
as
Okay.
we had in last decade.
Right.
By 2021, when these projects get completed, 10,000 would have cost us anything between 80 to 85,000.
So roughly about 8 to 8.5 crores per megawatt. That's the kind of
the
development,
completion cost in 2000.
the development cost of these projects, right? So that's quite reasonable when you look at the long-term aspect of these, the electricity, complete renewable, complete green energy, and the whole advantage of the economic advantage that I want to discuss this. The economic cooperation between India and Bhutan, because Bhutan being a small, almost like in a way a landlocked country, because there is no other way to do trade. The way it is dependent on India, and also the way India has constantly supported Bhutan, without any inhibition. It has gone ahead to give the grants for these projects. How would you look at this, this relationship? A certain relationship exists from the past and there is a future.
I'll tell you, as everybody knows in this region, and in fact internationally,
Right.
it is an example of friendship,
Yes.
level of friendship and cooperation between any two countries in the world.
Right.
This is supposed to be the best
Right.
so far. And since one country happens to be very small
Yes.
and with very little resource
Right.
other than this hydropower,
And also a population of roughly 700,000 people.
700,000. Therefore, Government of India has provided support, and for their own benefit, Government of India's benefit of getting
Electricity.
Electricity that is green
At a
power,
competitive rate,
green
at
power.
affordable competitive rate.
Yes, it's ultimately it comes like a friendship tariff.
Absolutely.
It's not that commercial tariff that you
Yeah.
keep on changing with whatever is the market demand. No,
Exactly.
it's actually a friendship. Once you compete, it's a friendship tariff.
Right.
And therefore, for doing the projects, initial investments,
Right.
100% come from India.
Right. Great.
And earlier, when we did long back in 70s and 80s, Chuka, later then 90s, late 90s and early 2000, this decade of the century, we had Tala. For these two projects, we had 60% coming as grant
Right.
and only 40% as loan.
Right. In the case of Tala, 60% grant.
Grant
And 40% even loan.
Loan with simple interest of 9%.
Right. For the
Very reasonable.
period of 10 years, right?
And no, repayment after successful completion
Okay, so there was no tenure on
of,
that, yeah.
12 annual installments.
Okay,
It was there.
So 12 years.
12 years annually. Then as we proceeded, the economic conditions improved here.
Right.
Plus now Government of Bhutan also has now confidence of this is one sector where
We can
they
succeed.
really
Yeah.
succeed. So the two governments for Punatsangchhu 1, the
Yes.
first project of this 10,000 megawatts initiative, the loan got increased from 40% to
Yes.
60%.
Okay,
And the grant reduced from 60% to 40%.
40%. So
in
Punatsangchhu 1 and 2, it is 40% grant.
No, Punatsangchhu 1.
Oh, it's only one.
40 grant, 60 loan.
Okay,
And 60 loan at 10% interest.
for the 10 years.
It is again, no, it's 12 years.
Again 12 years.
12 years,
So it means 12 installments.
12 installments annual. Then came Punatsangchhu 2.
Right.
That we started in December 2010.
Okay.
And in December 2010, we had a different agreement for
Okay.
financing, where now 70% is loan
Okay.
and
30% is grant.
and 10% simple interest, but recovery period is, loan repayment is 15 years.
Okay, in a longer period of tenure of the loan.
30 half yearly installments.
Okay, so
But half
this
yearly
is,
installments.
so instantly what you are effectively saying that what, in a way it is structured in such a way that it is easy and the spread of the loan is now extended.
Yeah, that's
Right.
And then comes the, these are first thing. Then third is Mangdeju.
Right.
We started with Punatsangchhu 2
Right.
in 2010. For that also financing is same.
Okay.
70% is loan, 30% is
Right, and the 15 years.
and 15 years return period. Now we have very recently
Right.
decided, that was within this month, yes, last month, sorry, on 11th, 12th of March,
Right.
we had an empowered joint group
Of India.
constituted by the two countries for overseeing the development of this 10,000 megawatts.
Right,
In that, we have now decided 4 projects
right.
to be done in public sector cooperation.
Okay.
From Government of India, public sector undertakings like SJVN,
Right.
NHPC,
Right.
Area Development
Area.
Corporation, and from here, Druk Green Power Corporation.
Right.
they will be joining hands.
Okay. Across the joint venture.
Yeah, joint ventures to do 4 projects now.
Okay.
Immediately. That then will be followed by 3 more projects under this intergovernmental mode.
Now, how is this structure different from the earlier structures?
Now, actually, the financing has to be arranged by the Indian public sector companies.
Okay.
So
That means the 30% equity has to come now,
Yeah.
instead of the grant.
Yeah. So
Now, how that is
the
divided?
equity part will be, Government of India to that extent will be providing grant to the
Bhutanese government.
government. They will pass it on to their public sector company,
Okay.
and that's how it will be done.
Okay. So will they pass it on to SJVNL or these companies?
No, it will go to Government of Bhutan will pass it on to the
Okay, that will come to Government of Bhutan.
Bhutan, yeah.
Right. So will the entire 30% or it's broken into 2 halves?
It is 30%.
Okay, so but the 30%, 50% will come from the private sector of India? Sorry, public sector of India?
Public sector of India has, basically it's 50-50.
That's what I'm saying. So the 30% equity has to 50% has to come from SJVNL, let us say for example,
Yeah.
and 50% from Druk Green Power.
Yeah,
And what Druk Green Power pays will come from the Government of India.
from Government of India.
Right, but
Through
SJVNL has to,
government, it
yeah.
will be given to government.
But SJVNL has to bring its equity.
Yes.
The 50%.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to clarify.
That this 70% loan
Yes, sir.
will be 35% each between SJVNL
Yes.
or NHPC, as the case may be, and this True Green Power Corporation.
Okay. That means they have to arrange loan from the market now?
Market, yes. Indian
Now they-
market they will raise.
Okay, they will raise from the Indian market and it will not be a Government of India soft loan
No,
as earlier.
no.
Right, so effectively up to the Magadeshu project, whatever the development happens, it is under the treaty where it's purely done on, I would say grant, intergovernmental cooperation, and now a little bit of
Grants will continue, Professor, but now through
a different route.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that as the baby is growing now, it's more confident now, it's able to take hold of itself, and it's like strengthening Bhutan in a way. In the Indo-Bhutan cooperation, it's important to keep strengthening the financial ability of these projects to continue on their own in the long run. That's what you're saying is coming through now with these projects. So it's wonderful stuff. So what do you feel is the challenges now? Like for example, manpower challenges, training and development of people, getting the right people for the project. Like you explained to me that a single person, even if more strong person who can execute projects or be in the part of the project, many of the teams may only spend at the most half a project or one full project and do second project. That's the kind of the life cycle that we are seeing, when I talk to you. Do you see any change in this, or is there any other method in which the experiences can be
Actually,
interwoven?
as we know, last almost 2 decades now, we had a lot of thrust on IT.
Right.
So the infrastructure development, which is essentially electrical engineers, mechanical engineers and civil engineers, the thrust has not been as much as in the IT. But certainly civil engineering part, when you see hydropower, it did not take off the way we had thought.
Right.
Almost 2 decades back. But yes, people are available. It will be, actually, even if you get youngsters,
Yes.
fresh graduates, fresh diploma holders,
Yeah, both from Indian
colleges, yes, and have selected group of experienced people.
Yeah.
They will get on-the-job training and they become a part. Within a year,
They can
they
easily
can
start working.
easily start working. So that is the way it has to be seen now. Yes, when you talk of materials,
Right.
cement, steel, the equipment, for that it's tied up in the sense that in India we have this giant BHL, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited. In their own hydropower sector,
Right.
their annual turnover in the capacity has gone almost 4 times.
Okay.
Yes, already. And they are not at the moment having the orders to work at that capacity. Then in India, the foreign companies, internationally known companies like Alstom,
Yeah, even Void.
Entries, they have already
Even Void for
yes,
them,
even
yeah.
Void.
All the three.
They have and huge big facilities developed in India,
Right.
and generating units of this magnitude
Right.
being done by all of them.
Right.
So according to me,
Equipment is not a
right,
problem.
right now, equipment and materials will not be a problem.
Right.
Manpower can be developed, as I said.
Right. And for project management also, we have wonderful companies like HCC, Gammon and L&T who are already working with you. And there are a plethora of companies which are capable of doing that.
Jack Associates Limited, they worked for us in Thailand.
Right.
They did a very important powerhouse complex component of that project.
Right.
SCC did the dam.
Right.
L&T did the tunneling that time.
Right, sir.
And now we have Gammon India.
Absolutely, right.
And earlier in this country, Patel Engineering
Yes.
worked in partnership with a local company here, Yarki Construction, for doing Basuchu project.
Basuchu.
Basuchu project.
So there's a lot of Indian companies which are capable of constructing, and there is a good resource center, to build up in Bhutan. So that is not a major challenge. So major challenge would be you saying engineering manpower training, and that we have to do on the job. That is the way it is. Okay, sir. Then I will also ask you, in a larger context, as you see, in the SAARC itself, when you compare European Union or any other cooperation, SAARC has been very weak. So do you see this Indo-Bhutan, that little thread, very strongly held by India and Bhutan through this hydropower cooperation?
I tell you, as I said,
It's like there's nothing in SAARC which is like this.
No.
Of course, this is also a world-class example, but I mean to say, nothing in SAARC that holds us together. Only India and Bhutan, the flag bearers. Do you see this whole development in that manner?
Yes, certainly. And it has a big future, and according to me, it's a lasting thing.
Absolutely. So credit must goes to both the countries in the way they have now matured, and they have been great friends, and they have continued this friendship and made the economic cooperation happen and made it expand. So maybe they will show the way for the other countries in the region.
We must salute
The
our
South,
leadership
yes,
in both countries.
both the countries, both India and Bhutan, the
And
leadership.
then people also.
People of India and Bhutan, definitely.
My own interaction with my colleagues here, younger, my age,
Right,
all of them.
right. So we must congratulate the people of India, people of Bhutan for being great friends, from the past, and also continuing it in the future in an economic and cooperative way, and showing an example in the region and the world.
And all of us have to learn from the model they follow in this country.
Right,
They go on more to G and H.
right. Gross national happiness. So without mentioning that, this interview would not be complete.
And,
Right. So in a competitive way, compared to the GDP models, the gross national happiness, and maybe qualifying and quantifying, and finding an alternative route to success.
And
This is what it is all about.
I tell you, for that, respecting the environment,
Yes.
looking after it properly,
Yeah.
especially the forest cover they have. Under the constitution, they are supposed to be maintaining at least 60% all the time. And they are very serious about it, right from the top.
Right.
His Majesty, the King of Bhutan,
Right.
His Majesty, the fourth King of Bhutan,
Right.
and the leadership here, all of them 100% for it, and they mean it. And you'll be happy to know that in recognition of that, perhaps,
Right.
we got the Punatsangchhu 1 hydroelectric project, 1200 megawatts, registered as a CDM project, Lean Development Mechanism project in the United Nations Forum for this climate change, UNFCCC.
UNFCCC, right. So the up to 1200 megawatt capacity of the Punatsangchhu's total capacity is already registered under UNFCCC.
Yes.
So that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
This
That is
happened
the
in February.
so it's the first sustainability recognition of what has happened, and of course Bhutan's projects have been the most sustainable projects in the region. So I must congratulate you personally for all this, sir. And I think we had a wonderful time in this interview, and all this we have seen physically. We've gone and seen the construction. And before I take a leave, I want to tell the viewers here that on this ENFRA Show, that this is one of the finest interviews that we had. We had great insights across this interview and the period that we have spent with Khazanchi sir. And the hydropower cooperation between India and Bhutan, at the end of it, must be seen as a SAARC integrating model in the long run, and the most important project. And hydropower, green and renewable energy, forever green. This project can serve for like minimum of 40, 50 years and even beyond the people of Bhutan, and also the cooperation between India and Bhutan in the region, and propel the gross national happiness of the Bhutanese people, and probably also for the Indian people later, because we must also see this model of gross national happiness versus GDP. With me was Shri Khazanchi Saab, the Honorable Druk, the highest civilian award winner in Bhutan, and also the winner of the 6th ENERTIA award as being the Hydropower Man of the Year for his lifetime achievement in hydropower in the region. We take leave from him. Thank you, Khazanchi sir. It was wonderful talking to you.